Hi there, I'm Cheryl, and today we'll make a, it's an all occasion type of card. As a matter of fact, I didn't even put a sentiment on the inside yet because I don't know what I'm going to be using it for. But let me tell you what we're going to need for this card. We'll need a piece of powder pink cardstock, and this is 5.5 by 8.5, and that's scored and folded at 4 1/4. It's our card base. And we have another piece, and we have a piece of very vanilla thick cardstock. And I have a piece that's 5.5 by 4 1/4. We'll be doing our stamping for our little squares on there. And then I have cut another piece that's 3 3/4 by 5, which will be the inside of our card. And I have a piece of powder pink that's 3 3/4 by 5.5, and a piece of crumb cake that's 3 7/8 by 5.5. We'll be using the Blooms and Wishes stamp set. We're using, let's see, we're using this flower, this little flower center here, and then this little flower. I have them already mounted on my blocks, and the postscript stamp, which is a big lovely background stamp. We'll need some Tombow glue. We don't need that. I have my Stampin' Spritzer here only because I need just a couple little drops of water. I have a piece of white seam binding. It's 5/8 of an inch wide seam binding. I have 20 inches of it, and I got it on this huge roll, which I will probably never in my lifetime use all of it. But you can dye this white to any color you want to match your card, so it's like having 100 rolls of ribbon in different colors, which may or may not even be what you need. So I think that's a good purchase to get. It's very economical in the long run. Actually, I don't think it was all that expensive. I can't remember how much it was, but I don't think it was all that expensive. Certainly not as much as that much ribbon would have cost. I'm using a powder pink ink, Smokey Slate, and Crumb Cake. I need a sponge dauber too, and I don't have that out on my table. Let's see. So I don't really need a sponge dauber. I'll use a sponge. There's a sponge. I know it's all colorful, but it is clean. It's just stained. And our Stampin Dimensionals. And then, of course, I'm going to need my Stampin Trimmer to cut my little squares. So let's get going on this card. The first thing I'm going to do is dye my ribbon, because that needs time to dry. So I've got my the seam binding. So let's get that done. I need my powder pink ink pad, and I need a little bit of water. I'm gonna just wet that a little bit. And I'm just gonna run my ribbon over the ink pad here and try to pick up a good amount of ink here. And let me put some down on the table too. This is the silicone mat, so I can get away with doing this. So I'll put a good amount down there on the mat too, and just give that just a little quick spritz with the water. Did I get it? I don't know. We'll see. And we're just going to wet our ribbon. Pick up all that good ink there. Now I need a little bit more water, because we need our ribbon wet. There. And just roll it around in there. Now if you want your ribbon very, very crinkly, you're going to want to add a few more inches. Instead of 20 inches, maybe go like 23 or 24 inches. And let's see how we're doing here. Oh, I want that cover. I want some more pink on there. This is a pretty light color. I'm probably going to have to re-ink that ink pad when I'm done. Okay. So get that ink all mixed through all over our ribbon. That looks good. And I'll wipe my little messy pile up here. And okay, so if you want it very crinkly, just take it like this and just crinkle it all up in a little ball and let it dry like that. Okay, I only want mine a little crinkly, so I'm going to just lay it out like this and let it dry. Let me dab up that. We don't need that extra there. So I'm going to just lay it out like that. I'm going to let it dry, and then when it's dry, I'll be back and we'll continue on with the card. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, I'm back, and my ribbon is pretty well dried now, so we can get on with our stamping. And I've got my postscript stamp out. I'm just laying it down on my tabletop. I'm going to ink that up with the Smokey Slate. And take my piece of very vanilla and just lay that down, and I'm just going to slide my finger over it, rub it down, and be careful you don't want to move your paper. You could put it on a gigantic block and use it like a regular stamp, but I find that this is just as easy, and then I don't need to go and look for my huge stamp. So I've got that all stamped. Then with my powder pink, I'm going to use my little flowers and just randomly stamp flowers on here. And let's switch up. Let's use the big one. Get the big one in there too. Now we're not going to use the entire piece of paper, but I like to make it a little bigger than I need. That way I can pick and choose where I want to cut out. Get right to the edges. Because who knows, we might want that little edge piece, and we'll want some of this pink on there too. Now, I said before we needed sponge daubers, and I was right. We do need sponge daubers. So, with my sponge dauber, then I'm going to take some of this, and I'm just going to blend in some pink in here. Again, I'm going very random. And then I'll switch sponge daubers and go back to my Smokey Slate. And we're going to add some of that in here too. And some of our areas we'll keep it light with the smoky slate. Just anywhere we didn't put the powder pink. The idea is we're not going to cover every little bit of this background with our smoky slate and the pink. We do want some areas that will be just open and very vanilla. Alright, I think I'm about done. So you see, it's just looks kind of like a smudgy mess. And now we can cut our squares. We're going to cut them into 1.5 inch squares. So I'll use my trimmer. And let's see. These edges do look pretty good. So I'm going to put that right on the edge here. Oh, that's not going to work. That's my scoring blade. So there's my 1.5 inch strip, and there's the next one. I'll cut the next one. Okay, and then we have a little piece left over here. We can do whatever we want with it. And let's see. I kind of like this end of it better, so I'll cut these into... I'll start from this end. I've got 1.5 and another 1.5. And we're going to need 6 of these all together. I like my Stampin Trimmer. I like being able to score and cut all on the same one piece of equipment. That's one less thing I need to have cluttering up my craft room. You know, I'm going to cut off just a little bit of this end here. And then I'll start cutting my... See, so I have a chance. I can pick and choose a little bit here. So where I want my squares. And one more, 1.5 inches. There we go. And this is nice too, because on the back side here, there's a place to store your extra blades, and if you want, you can put your bone folder back there too. I like things like that. Oh, I need my... You know what? I wanted to do a little border down here. This is the piece that's going to go on the inside. So let's see. Let me ink this up again with the smoky slate. I'm just gonna ink up a little bit down the bottom here. And I'll take my paper and just like that last 1 inch. There we go. It didn't get totally covered, but that's okay because we're going to do all this blending and stuff over top of it. Now we have to put some flowers in there. And keep them within our little border there. We could have them come off the edge if we want. Actually, that looks better if we have them come off the edge. Okay. Get my sponge dauber. Do a little pink. And other sponge dauber. And we'll do a little bit of the Smokey Slate. There. Okay. Okay, so the inside's decorated now. That's all finished. Alright, so now we have all of our little squares. Now if you want to conserve on your Stampin Dimensionals, you can cut little foam squares and make them just a little bit smaller. These are 1.5 inch squares, so I cut these at 1 1/4, and then you could just glue them to the back and just put them down instead of using Stampin Dimensionals. I'm going to use Stampin Dimensionals though. So I'm going to turn those all over and give myself 4 Stampin Dimensionals on each of these. Because we have these popped up, I want them good and sturdy. That's why we use the we're using the thick Whisper White. I'm trying to go fast here. On the software I got for editing my videos, there is a way to speed things up, and I'm going to have to check into that and see if I can get good with that. Stage 1 of learning my video software was learning how to put the videos together, so now I can make a little bit longer video. With my camera, all I get is 25 minutes. So that, and like the time it took for my ribbon to dry. You didn't want to be sitting here waiting for my ribbon to dry. I know that. I didn't want to be sitting here waiting for it to dry. Okay, so now we'll get our piece of powder pink. And we're going to arrange these. We're going to put these down on this piece of powder pink. And there's going to be a 1/4 inch all the way around each of these pieces. I'm just going to eyeball it because I'm pretty good at that. But if you're not that good at it, then you may want to get your ruler out and maybe lay it on a piece of gridded paper and use that to guide you. But that looks pretty good to me. Well, yeah, I know not everybody can just look at stuff and look at it and have it lined up the way they want it. And sometimes I don't get it right either, but that's just the way it goes. I'm not going to upset myself over it because card making is fun. It's fun and it's relaxing, and you don't worry. What's that song? Don't worry, be happy. So here we go. We're getting there. We're getting there, guys. See, this would have been done if I had used foam squares. Using foam instead of dimensionals is also a good way to add dimension, or using like pieces of foam instead of the instead of dimensionals. That's a good way to get dimension on your card, like if you're sending it in the mail and you don't want it to get all squished down, because this could squish down even though I use the heavy cardstock. Okay, and there's our last one. Get that lined up. See, I didn't do too bad, did I? And I didn't have to measure. And then that's going to get mounted to the piece of crumb cake. I'll have the dimensions of the papers you need down below. So don't worry, be happy. Don't worry about what sizes you're going to need right now. And we just have just a little bit of that crumb cake showing on the sides. You see, there's nothing on the top and bottom. We have that totally lined up. And now we're going to put our ribbon on. So, ta-da! There's my ribbon, all dry and just a little crinkled. I don't think I told you need snail either, but if you're like me, you've always got some snail hanging around. And let's see, I need a piece that's just a little bit bigger than my card. Let me just snip that off and come around here to the front. And I want that just right about here on my card. So I'll just put that there, wrap that around. I'm going to put a little dab of snail on the front here, and a little bit just over on this very edge. We're going to actually tie our bow to this bit here. And I don't want to stretch that out and take out all my little crinkles. So there we go. Just wrap that around, and now it's attached nicely on the back, and it's in place here on the front. And then we'll take our other bit of ribbon and thread that underneath here. Oh, that came up. Let me just pat that down and bring that up to make the ends meet here. Tie that in a knot. See, and then that brings this together. See, instead of that just being straight across, it cinches it in there. And I'll just tie my bow. Very simple. And adjust. I don't want it all that big. Okay. I want my bow like this. I'm going to just trim this little end here. And I'm going to use a bit of tape just right there. And that holds the end of my bow in place. Come on, bow, lay down there. I want you kind of there. That's much better. And we'll do the same with this bit. I want that kind of drifting over this way. I'll trim that end off. And just press that down. And there's pretty much our whole card front done. We need to just attach that to here and put our inside piece wherever that got to. Oh, there it is. I see it. Just over there. We'll put that in. And our card will be finished. And you notice I go right over my ribbon. Even though it's taped down on that side, I want to make sure that ribbon's not ever going to go anywhere. So I put glue right over top of it. And then this goes on the card front. And we have a little bit of the pink, the powder pink from the card base showing on either side, but it's level top and bottom. Open that up and we'll do this piece. Now, what I would recommend though, I'm going to glue this in place, but what I would recommend is just tuck this piece inside. You know what? We never did the little edges with the crumb cake. Oh, poo. Let me take a look here. Yeah, you know what? That makes a big difference. I'm going to put this in place. Let me finish my thought on this. I would just tuck this inside. That way when you're ready to stamp, you can stamp on it and then glue it down. But I want to show you the difference. I just went around the edges on my sample. Just a touch with the crumb cake and on the edges. Okay, so take a look at that. You see that? Okay, now take a look at this one. You know, that's not the end of the world that I did not do that. But I do like it much better with this. It just, I don't know, it just defines those little squares so much better. And I did the same thing on the inside. You see that? See, take a look at that. Alright. Now, take a look at this one. See? It just looks, I don't know, like raw and unfinished without it. Well, sponge the edges of all your little pieces of paper with crumb cake, because I think it will make it look much better. So, if you've liked this video, then be sure to hit that like button down below. If you'd like to see more of my my cards, more of my videos, then be sure to subscribe. I have a blog. I put things up there. Sometimes they don't make it anyplace else. I have blog exclusives. So be sure to check that out every now and then. And as always, I'll have all my materials and tools that I use listed down below. So y'all take care, stay safe, and happy stamping.